Protests that kicked off in New York 3 weeks ago have now grown into a nationwide rally engulfing a growing number of U.S. cities every day. Demonstrators inspired by the Arab Spring demand an end to social inequality and corporate greed. And as their calls for a revolution get louder, the authorities and media are finding them harder to ignore. RT's Marina Portnaya reports.
The collective voices of American dissent has manifested into a movement impossible to ignore. Occupy Wall Street began in the world's financial capital, but this week, protests have blazed through dozens of cities nationwide. In the Big Apple, up to 15,000 Americans flooded lower Manhattan. Labor unions, transport workers, teachers, nurses, and U.S. veterans standing shoulder to shoulder with young activists, spearheading a fight against U.S. wealth inequality and corporate greed.
Young people right now have no hope in our society, and I just want to see a fairer and more just society for the young people coming up and all of the Americans that right now are suffering through these hard economic times.
This seems pretty revolutionary to me, and the spirit of revolution is here, and so I need to be a part of it.
Once you are not afraid to be arrested anymore, the whole entire control of the police state disappears. And when that happens, there are incredible possibilities that are open to us, and suddenly you can imagine a different world, and you believe you can be an agent of change.
The Occupy movement has gained such momentum, even the president who promised change was forced to address the issue.
I think people are frustrated, and the protesters are giving voice to a more broad-based frustration about how our financial system works. The American people understand that not everybody's been following the rules, that Wall Street is an example of that. These days, a lot of folks who are doing the right thing aren't rewarded, and a lot of folks who aren't doing the right thing are rewarded.
While the U.S. has encouraged and supported democratic uprisings in the Arab world, the same events playing out at home have been met with batons, pepper spray, and the arrests of nearly 800 peaceful protesters on the Brooklyn Bridge, a scene that reminded some of Egypt's Tahrir Square.
We can follow the lead of our brothers and sisters all over the world in the Arab Spring in Greece, in Spain. We can see that it did send a powerful message. Ordinary people are not going to stand for corporate greed anymore, and that we're getting up and we're doing something about it.
3 weeks into the anti-Wall Street demonstrations, the New York City Police Department has pumped $2 million into overtime pay, funds some critics say are being used to repress freedom. 2 miles from the chaos at the United Nations, even financier and billionaire George Soros weighed in on the populist uprising.
Actually, I can understand their sentiments. The decision not to inject capital into the banks, but to effectively relieve them of their bad assets, gave the banks bumper profits. As I say, I can sympathize with their grievances.
Grievances spearheaded so loud and large that mainstream media outlets have been left with no other choice but to cover the protests. In a matter of weeks, Occupy Wall Street has not only mobilized international attention, many believe this ongoing event could become a turning point in the U.S., where a mass movement goads American politicians into working for the majority of the people, a passionate collective demanding democracy from the very leaders that promote it. Marina Portnaya, RT, New York.